I'm 24 years old. I make $125,000 as a software engineer in New York City, and I'm planning to escape America entirely. But here's the thing. I'm not quitting my job tomorrow like all these other YouTubers. I'm playing the long game, and by the time I'm 30, I'll be retired in another country where my money goes 10 times further while everyone else is still trapped in the rat race. This isn't another quit your job and follow your dreams channel. I'm documenting the strategic approach to early retirement while dealing with real-world constraints that most creators ignore. For example, I have a chronic health condition called Crohn's disease. This requires monthly infusions, which means I need consistent health insurance and access to medication that isn't available everywhere in the world yet. But that doesn't mean early retirement is impossible. It just means I need to be smarter about how I plan it. This is why I'm not here to sell you a course or tell you how to quit your job with no plan. I'm documenting my actual journey from corporate employee to early retiree, showing real numbers and real strategies in realistic scenarios. Let me be completely transparent about where I'm starting from. I have about $200,000 in total net worth, which sounds decent, but until you realize that's not really enough to retire on, especially when you factor in ongoing medical expenses. I make zero income outside of my W-2, which is a major problem I need to solve. My goal is to build $5,000 to $10,000 per month in post-tax passive or semi-passive income streams, because relying solely on my software engineering salary isn't going to accelerate this timeline. It might actually just push it back even further. Making six figures in NYC sounds impressive until you realize after taxes, rent, basic living expenses, you're not automatically building wealth just because you have a good job. And while my friends are upgrading to fancy one-bedroom apartments that cost $2,200 to $3,000 plus in my area, I'm taking a different approach. I'm actually renting from one of my friends who bought his apartment, so I'm paying $1,400 all in with utilities. It's not cheap, but it's significantly below market rate and allows me to save substantially more than if I was trying to live alone just to meet some arbitrary standard of what a 24-year-old should be doing. The reason I'm doing this is because every dollar I don't spend on lifestyle inflation is a dollar working towards my freedom. Here's something most early retirement creators don't really address. What happens when you have ongoing medical needs? I need monthly infusions for Crohn's disease, and I'm currently on a newer medication that isn't globally available yet. I'm hoping that in the next 5 to 7 years, this medicine gets approved in more parts of the world, which would expand where I can actually live long term. But even if I retire early, I'll likely need to maintain some form of US health insurance, which could post up to $500 per month in recurring expenses. That's a reality I have to factor into my retirement calculations. My current target countries for international retirement are Thailand, Vietnam, Colombia, and potentially Mexico, but I'm not just picking these randomly. I need to visit each one of these first to see if I actually love the culture, the atmosphere, if they stay affordable, and most importantly, if it's a location where I can cheaply acquire my monthly medical medicine, or where it's easy to fly back to the United States just to get. The medical component adds a layer of complexity that most people don't actually have to consider, but it's not insurmountable. It's just going to be a lot harder to achieve these goals, and it's going to limit me a lot more in the future. This is why my goal isn't to be rich in America, where everything costs a fortune. My goal is to have enough money to live like royalty somewhere where my dollar actually has real purchasing power. And those countries is kind of where it's feasible. I used to dream of buying a house, getting that white picket fence lifestyle that we're all supposed to want. But as I've grown older and seen the real cost of working for 40 years just to afford home ownership, property taxes, maintenance, and being tied down to one location, it just doesn't feel feasible anymore. A primary residence really ties you down to one area, and I just want the freedom to bounce around between countries whenever I want. I didn't grow up in luxury or some form of extremely privileged background. My parents actually owned their home, but lost it due to foreclosure, and now we're both renting. Even though they aren't doing it sustainably, I still believe that with my outlook and goals, renting is actually the better choice for me. Right now, it's actually cheaper to rent than purchase a home for one, and keeping that extra money in Bitcoin and the stock market has shown to outpace my appreciation. Your home would grow, so why tie up hundreds of thousands in real estate when you can use that to invest and leverage that money to retire earlier? Our parents' generation could buy homes and build wealth following the standard playbook. For us, the same strategy leads to us being house poor and working until 65 plus. I'm choosing a different game entirely. And you might be wondering, why am I playing these games on this channel, like old Call of Duty and Minecraft? My relationship with modern gaming hasn't been the same for years now. I love the old games from my childhood. Those games I could never get bored of. But modern gaming is filled with ADHD-inducing mechanics, microtransactions, and pay-to-win styles that I genuinely just don't support anymore. That's why on this channel, I'll mainly be sticking to basics like older Call of Duty titles and Minecraft. Games that don't rot your brain, and are slower moving and at your own pace. I used to spend 8+ hours a day gaming, and as I've grown up, I've realized that not all of the time was wasted, but a lot of it was, and it was very unhealthy too. I lost countless hours of sleep just to stay up to play games even longer, and I've paid for it in the long run with my health. Some things I've given up on for now are expensive cars, luxury apartments, buying a home, and even having kids, all in the name of escaping this rat race and retiring early. I just can't sacrifice my well-being and livelihood for materialistic things. I would love to just travel the world with the girl I love and enjoy our time together without any deadline or having to return to the office. My current savings rate isn't as high as I'd like since I've recently moved to the city, but as I document this journey further, I want to achieve as close to a 50% savings rate as possible. My retirement age is somewhere in my 30s, and I want to achieve coast fire within the next 4 years. And I know it's weird being 24 and not caring about having the coolest apartment or newest car, but I'd rather sacrifice 6 years of lifestyle upgrades to gain 40 years of complete freedom. And there's going to be a lot of income diversification challenges. For example, if I can scale income outside of my W-2, I see this timeline as totally feasible. But solely relying on W-2 income isn't going to accelerate anything. It might actually push my retirement even further back. This is where I need to get creative and strategic about building additional revenue streams while managing my health conditions and maintaining the insurance I need. In future videos, I'll be sharing my actual progress, setbacks, and strategic pivots as I work towards this goal. You'll see the real numbers, the real challenges, the real solutions as someone who's actually in the trenches executing this plan while dealing with constraints that most people don't talk about. This is going to be including my actual salary, expenses, savings rate, investments, investment returns, every single month, no fluff, just raw data from someone who's actually executing this plan. If you're tired of the traditional path that leads to 40 years of cubicle life, but you also have real world constraints that make the typical just quit your job advice useless, then this channel is for you. We're building something different here, a realistic approach to early retirement that acknowledges the challenges while still pursuing the goal. In my next videos, I'll be breaking down how and why I cut down my rent, how I graduated in the worst job market ever and how I still won, and why I'm gaming less, and my full plan and breakdown of my early retirement plan and why I chose to not build generational wealth.